What is going on, everybody? On here, and tonight we are going to have a conversation about toxic assets. So I've been thinking about this for a while, and really, as it relates to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and we saw with Spider-Man and Avatar, there was so much hype going into these sets. There was really nowhere to go but down. And in hindsight, everybody can look at it and say the market was a little overheated. So some of the price points it released really didn't make a whole hell of a lot of sense. And now we have Turtles, which is basically the bottom of the barrel. Sentiment is a 0 out of 10. Everybody thinks it's going to be garbage. And these are really the types of situations where you have no downside. So buying into something such as Turtles is an absolute home run. And I'm going to go through a bunch of items in here. I've talked about some of these. And at one point or another, they were either deemed as dead money or toxic. For the most part, now I have a couple Weiss items in here I want to talk through just based on the market dynamics. I've been talking about them for a while and just highlighting some of the supply and demand imbalance where the demand and the sell-through fairly significantly outpaces what the supply of the product does. So let's start with Magic. So we have Spider-Man. Everybody knows the story about Spider-Man. I think what's interesting here, obviously we have the Marvel set coming out in, is it July? I think it's July. And we already have the next, Mind Stone, whatever. I'm not a comic book guy, Marvel guy. I didn't grow up on it, but it's certainly cool. So there should be a little bit of tailwinds for Spider-Man here. Yeah, that was kind of the thesis as to why I bought a lot of these. I think I have close to 400 collector boxes kind of sitting here. Obviously underwater like everybody else, but that's fine. But if we look here, we have a lot of folks. We're sitting right around the 350 mark. Now, it's not a super deep market until you get to 275, 280. But I think what's interesting here is if you look, it's still selling six a day. Now, there's 514 on the market. I think the last time I looked, there was close to 600. So these are going to churn. There's a ton of these out there. I think in hindsight, everybody knows that WotC printed the shit out of the set. They basically created the facade that it was short printed, sent to distro. They held all this product back to sell Amazon direct to consumer. When the thing crashed, they pushed all of the product through distribution. And here we have effectively the perfect storm of WotC stubbing their toe, trying to take advantage of the situation. And, kind of here we are. So I'm still a buyer at this point. I think, quite honestly, the boxes should be sitting at $450, $500 relatively shortly. And quite honestly, obviously you have the Soul Stone, which is whatever it is, 20,000, 30,000. I haven't looked at the price lately, but it's five figures. So there's a huge chase. And, I think as the set ages, people are going to look back with a lot less vitriol. And they're going to be like, oh, you know what? Maybe the set wasn't that bad. I'll give it another look. And especially when Marvel hits, I would imagine there's going to be some synergies between the sets and the cards. So, you have the most toxic asset on the market, and we've kind of rebounded here a little bit. And, we're not at $300 anymore. It hasn't moved off its low a lot, but it stopped going down. And quite honestly, it's moving in the right direction. So following in its footsteps, we have Avatar. Now, these boxes, I think, were like 550 when it came out. Kind of cursed as well because when the Spider-Man boxes were pre-selling for like $800, $900, the Avatar boxes were also printing or selling for that much. And this is a situation where, like we have now with Strixhaven and Marvel, Wizards did this fake minimum allocation to get orders in early from stores so they could manage their revenue for Q3 and Q4. In this instance, Q4. This is when Avatar hit, because Q4 was a pretty sizable hurdle. Now they've pre-released that they've kind of gotten in that range. I think the magic number that they were trying to hit was like 500 to 520 million in revenue, which is it's a big matzo ball. But these collector boxes were as low as 325. And the sell-through of these is actually a lot greater than Spider-Man, just because I think the set, it's a better set. The set was more well received. The level of nerd that plays Magic tends to like anime more than it likes superheroes. And I think this is pretty much it. But again, we're selling 9 a day. Now we're down to 290 in the market, 283 selling per month. Again, this is going to be a $500 collector box before you know it. So moving on, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is basically open at the bottom of the bottom of the bottom. Now, distribution price on these are like $300, depending on where you're buying them from. But, coming out at $420, whatever the number is, there's really not that far to drop, quite honestly. And the fact that the sell-through has been this pathetically bad is really, really interesting. But here we can see a little bit of a step up. And we generally do as we go into pre-release and the spoilers and everything. Now, we haven't seen the special guest slots. We have seen the mythics and the rares. But there's a lot of value that could potentially be in the set that we just haven't seen yet. So I would expect these to probably be closer to 500 at release. But anyway, look at it. There is so little downside on these at this point. There's no risk in buying them just based on where the price point is. So let's go to Pokemon for a second. Everybody's favorite, Shrouded Fable, the set that's only going to get one print. We are now just about a year away from this set rotating out. We've seen some small drips and drabs of booster bundles here and there. We haven't seen any more ETBs. There's 3 ETB cases for $750. This is an absolute steal. Next year at this time, this set's probably going to be twice the price. And as most of you should be aware who have paid attention to Pokemon for a while, it's not always the value of the set. It's the rarity of the card or of the box itself. And these ETBs are they're going to be super rare. It's going to take some time for them to churn through the system. Once they rotate out and everybody realizes there's no reprint coming, I don't know how many times I have to say it. This is probably the best value in all of Pokemon right now because everything's really overheated. Moving on to One Piece, everybody's most hated set, 2 Legends. I bought close to 10 cases of this from Europe over the summer for €65. They couldn't give it away. And now all of a sudden, with all the hype in One Piece, these boxes are $235. And the sell-through's really, really good. And there's only 136 on the market. So as with any One Piece set, the print run's the print run at this point. And here, it kind of meandered. And then all of a sudden, things got crazy. And then we just went straight up. And again, it just goes to show you that the worst asset in an asset class when things get hot, more often than not becomes the best performing asset now. On Wall Street, it's the companies that are super highly levered. So you're turbocharged when it comes to your equity value. Here, it's just the fact that people like buying the cheap stuff. And when boxes go to $400, if there's a box that can be had in the asset class for $100, people are going to buy it. And it's kind of the way it is. Let's see. What's next? The Azure Sea is not a toxic asset at all. But I do want to point out the second wave hit in earnest yesterday, the day before, and today. So this is a second wave in full force on the market, and it's still selling 100 and some boxes a day. A week from now, these boxes are going to be $300, and they're just going to go up from there. There's just too much sell-through. There's not enough supply, and they're just going nuts. I mean, you have 4 days of inventory here. Now, I'm sure there's going to be more on the market, but I've gotten my wave 2 from GTS and from Alliance, and this is as low as it's going to go. If you want to own it, now is the time. So everybody's favorite dead asset, Newtype Rising, was dead money for 6 months. The set came out, it did very well. Then waves of reprints hit, and waves and waves and waves. And with Gundam, it's not just GTS and Alliance. Southern also carries it. PhD also carries it. So now you have 4 distributors that are carrying a game as opposed to just 2 with One Piece. So you had different timing of the waves coming out, and every distributor works things a little bit differently when it comes to allocation, when it comes to shipping, when it comes to timing and length of time from landing the product in the warehouse to actually going to market. So this product has finally dried up. I feel like the boy who's cried wolf because I've talked about this is probably the 4th time. And you can see here, it absolutely spiked at release. And then here you have all the different reprint waves. This last little bit of product really pushed the price down to 142. And the one thing that didn't do it any favors is you have all these garbage foreign boxes that, for whatever reason, TCG Player allows on here. And if you look, these Japanese boxes, there's 1 or 2 that sell a day. And all it does is it smashes the market price. Now, the market price is finally to a point where people doing mass price on here aren't going to list something 15% below the lowest list. But it took a while to get here. So at $200, this is the highest it's been since August. So since shortly after release. But there's no product left. It says $394, but 300 of them are Japanese. So there's under right there. So there's under 100 boxes in the market. And if you want to see something really staggering, here's your cases. Your lowest listed case is $3,500. I mean, they're all gone. There's nothing left. eBay sales are finishing at $3,000. The cases are $3,000. People are catching on to it, and things are starting to move. Now, the second set is a little weak because of the meta, but with this third set coming out, Steel Requiem, that just released today. Yeah, I mean, look at the sales volume. 375 boxes. I mean, it's still selling 30, 10, 12, 20. The sell-through on this is insane. Now, Steel Requiem is the third set. It's going to be super interesting because now you have a much more expanded card pool. So we'll see what happens with the second set, with the first set. I think you're going to have a ton of interest coming into the market. 226 boxes sold in one day. This is more than any Flesh and Blood release ever has across its entire release period. So a ton of boxes, and it's sitting at $140. So this is really, really bullish for the boxes, for the game. We have a lot of folks locally that are really excited about this, getting a new set. Again, I think GDO2 didn't quite land the way they had it intended to. But again, as the card pool grows, things are going to change, and that could certainly be interesting. So, let's go here. Godzilla. Rudy talked about Godzilla. I first saw Godzilla Gamma in 2025. It looked really, really cool. Now, this is distributed by Bushiroad, but Bushiroad is not making the game. It's actually made by Toho, who is the Japanese studio who owns the IP of Godzilla. Now, there's not a whole lot of support for the game in the US, but the product is selling, and it's selling well. Here in a year, 1,259 boxes, there's 98 in the market. 32 in the last month, but the boxes are pushing $93. What's interesting here is when the boxes came out, they were $43, $44, and MSRP, the listed MSRP was like $52. So there's not a whole lot of margin in the product, and a lot of folks in distribution, they didn't push the product because there really wasn't a whole lot of money to be made in it. But I think what's interesting, and the second set was ordered pretty heavily. If we look at it here real quick. Booster set 2. Now, the boxes have recovered pretty substantially. I mean, we're sitting at $71. 78 boxes sold in the last month. 1,000 boxes or so. So it's on par with the first set. But if we look here, for the longest time, the boxes were like $40-some. Like, this is distributor cost right here. So the fact that it's recovered to $70 is super, super bullish. And then the third set just released today. Let me refresh this real quick and just see if the price has changed. We're at $66.82. New set coming out. What's really cool about this is they've inserted all kinds of chase cards, serialized cards, signature cards. I think there's a couple other chases in here that didn't exist in the first set. The second set did have super rare signature cards. I think they announced that there's 100 total. But unless you go on the website and you read it, there's really not a whole lot of marketing and a whole lot of press behind it. So the fact that the game has done so well and the boxes have performed extremely strongly, if we get any sort of marketing whatsoever from the company, these early boxes are going to be pure gold. So I bought all 3 sets. I bought a couple hundred boxes of all 3 sets. I'm sitting in multiple cases. For me, the risk reward is there. You know, obviously the liquidity is always a challenge, depending on the stuff. But these guys didn't make the game to destroy it. And this third set was super, super under ordered. So, you know, as you can see by the price, we're not at $42. We're at $66. So we'll see what happens from here. So moving on, Weiss Schwarz. Nikke got us a victory, back to $70. And I've been pounding the table on this for a while. You can see the sell-through, 5,814 boxes in the last year has got to be an absolute all-time high for Weiss. I can't imagine there's another set that's sold that A, folks bought it, and B, it's sold. So here's the initial release. You're right around 70. Here's the second release of the first print run. And remember, there is a reprint coming out. But generally speaking, there's not a whole lot of impact on the first edition because the signatures are different. So 1,768 boxes on the market. There were 2,100. I think somebody had 300 listed. I guess they took them down. But here you have Shushu out of Florida has 1,500 of the boxes. So in reality, there's 250 boxes left. It's selling 9 a day. So it's basically a month of supply here until the boxes dry up, or well, I should say until we hit this wall at $78. You can see a lot of people have pushed their pricing up here. But this is what Weiss sets do now. Again, there's going to be a reprint that comes out. It's not going to be nearly as heavily ordered as the first set because it's second. But the product's going to churn. These boxes are going to be $100, $120 at some point in time. We have Nikke Volume 2 coming out in the fall, which is going to be super interesting as well. So moving on to the other cartoon boob set, we have Azure Lane. So this came out. This was significantly more under order than Nikke, only 1,700 boxes versus 54. And if we look here, there's only 583 boxes on the market. And 422 were everything goods. I don't know who the store is. So that means outside of this one store who looks like they're trying to sell the product, there's only 160 boxes. Now, the sell-through on this isn't quite as good as what Nikke is, but 187 boxes, that's 100% of the inventory out there. That's not this one store's. Then my favorite, and everybody kind of mocked me for going heavy on this. I think about 50 cases of the reprint. So Frieren. So Frieren is an anime. It's the first season's on Netflix. It's 28 episodes. It's actually a good watch if you watch it. I mean, I don't really watch anime, but this is well written, and it's written for a little bit of a more sophisticated audience than people just watching, Dragon Ball or One Piece or whatever. The second season just came out. I believe it's on Crunchyroll now. It's not on Netflix yet, but everybody seems to love it. The folks I know in the industry here that do a lot of cons, conventions, they're amazed at how many folks are cosplaying characters from this. So the IP has gone absolutely insane. And this set was super underordered again. So this set only came out in late December. And there's a little bit of messiness here because there was a first edition that was way, way, way under order back the end of 2024. And then we had this one, and TCG Player didn't quite get them listed in time. But if we look at a month, 223 boxes have sold in here. You had 45 boxes selling one day, which is crazy. So there's 137 boxes left, which is like 2 weeks of supply. You have one person here with 48, a couple small folks. I mean, this is a case. And then if we go look at the cases, and here you can see the first edition boxes. The cases are $3,000. The boxes are $150. So if you go to the second case, That's $1,300. There's 18 on the market, but again, same seller here that had 48 has 10 here. I'm sure that is one in the same. These boxes are going to $100. They're going to be $100 probably in the next month. It's just a good Weiss set just performs this way, and it's not that dissimilar to what we see with the Commander deck reprints in Magic, which is what we're going to talk about next. So let's see. Let's do Duskmourn first. So Duskmourn had a big reprint early in the year. It got smashed, and as the inventory churned and burned. And again, the sell-through of Endless Punishment on this set, it's absolutely insane. It's selling so many copies. But here we have the second reprint. Got smashed, and now everything's recovering. There's 100 copies on the market. Now, it's only selling 34 a day. But look at this chart, because this is the exact same chart that every single one of these reprint Commander decks has. And I'm going to show you a couple others in a second. But let's go to Endless Punishment real quick, because this is where the product is really getting chewed up. Right here. And you can see there's 6 of these selling a day. So obviously 6 of these is 6 displays. If there's only 100 displays over there and there's 94 here, you have 194 in the market. In the last month, 200 have sold. Now, either people are buying them to break singles, which I don't think so, because the EV is a little tight at this price point, or people are buying them to play. And as such, they're just going to disappear. Here's the other one. This is Ixalan. So Ixalan reprinted at the same time. Now the sell-through is a little bit slower. The Velociraptor deck is not quite as popular as the Endless Punishment deck. But here, there was a big reprint in the end of 2024. Everything recovered. You have a big reprint again. It's starting to recover. This has been out of stock at distribution for months now. So the product continues to churn. You can see here, you have 66 in the last month, 2 per day. So not quite all of inventory, but again, you're $170 and you don't have a whole lot until you get to 190 at 25. So this is what happens with all these reprints. So when these reprints happen, I buy a ton of these because it's a very, very safe way to park money. So when we talk about, get back to the theme of toxic assets, when you're buying something at bargain basement distribution price because WotC just dumped product on the market, there's so little downside. All you have to do is sit on it and wait. And as the product churns through the market, there's so much demand for this stuff, it will inherently recover. And this is exactly what we see with all these Commander decks. Here's a Velociraptor deck. If we go down here, 1 month, 220, so 7 per day. 14 of these sold just today. So if 220 of these are selling a month, 33 displays, and there's only 100 displays in the market, you guys can do the math. There is far more demand than there is supply for these items. Now, what does the future look like? All right, here she is. So Tarkir came out, was really, really stagnant. And then in October, we got a huge reprint, pushed everything down to like $135, which is effectively distribution price. I go back here for 1 month. Now let's go. Here we go. So here's your reprint. So here's where everything spiked down. This is the Forged in Fire special. And then everything starts to move back up. And now you can see there's 27 from this no-name seller here, 164. And then once you get through that, you're back at 180. And then you're kind of off to the races. Now, this is sold out at Southern, GTS, Alliance, Magazine Exchange still has some, and PhD still has some. I think PhD is getting close to selling out. It's not quite sold out yet, but once it sells out, there's a lot of product. Again, churning per day. Back to 1 month, 86 of these a month, so 146. But then when we go to the individual decks, and the EV on these is very good. So breaking these for singles is something that can be done in a practical matter. let's go to Team Aurora. Actually, let's just do best selling. See which one's selling the highest. Here, I could sell Tari Arisen. And in the last 3 months, we have 151. So 5 per day. But again, there's only 167 on the market. So these are churning very, very quickly. The singles have a very positive expected value. The Commander sample packs sell for a decent price, $4, $5, whatever the price is. But again, these dumped on the market. Everybody thought they were toxic when the price hit 132, and then everybody avoids it. And what happens is that's the time to buy this stuff, because that is when your absolute minimum downside is and your maximum upside. So right here, December 22nd, everybody was panic selling and trying to get out. So anyway, hopefully this helps you guys to understand a little bit. Everybody likes to say buy low, sell high, but it's human nature to run when the price is low and flock to something when the price is high, like One Piece right now. So this is really going through items that were just absolutely crapped on. And now you can see that as time passes, everything starts to move in the right direction. So, and I guess hopefully it's helpful. Like the video, subscribe, join the Discord, and have a good Friday night.